Okay, getting back to my alpha detection agent building. In my last video, we were going through the process of building our MCP server for data inputs to our agent. I'll come back to this in just a second. If you're not familiar with MCP, MCP is a protocol that allows you to, it's like APIs actually. If you're familiar with APIs, it's like an API protocol, but the protocol is designed specifically for models so that a model like Claude can access tools outside its normal scope. And you can actually develop a tool using the MCP protocol and then hand it to Claude, and Claude will decide when it wants to use one of those tools within its skill set. Now, this is super exciting because you aren't limited to only using it in Claude. You can actually use it inside of agents. And so then you can mix inside of an agentic workflow, you can mix a lot of different capabilities from outside the model, different modeling and data processing and things, and inside the model, different MCP wrapped services that you hand off to the model. And I'm going to show you a little bit both ways. But since the last video, I've made some progress. So in the last video, I believe we implemented just Twitter and Substack in our data MCP server. I also was running an external CoinGecko MCP server, but upon playing it with a bit over the weekend, I realized it wasn't exposing all the endpoints that we wanted or the right endpoints that we wanted. So I've since added CoinGecko directly into my MCP server, which I've called the data Omni feeds. If this is something that you're interested in building with, just let me know down in the comments. I've currently published it as a private repo. I didn't have plans on publishing or maintaining it, but it is quite useful. You can get tweets from your profile, from lists, things like that. You can read the latest publications from a Substack, or you can, look at different lists or search CoinGecko or get current pricing from CoinGecko. Now today I wanted to actually go one step farther. So in the Recall universe, one of the reasons why I'm interested in showing people how to build agents is because we have this competition for different teams to build agents that can detect alpha. So just tradable opportunities in crypto. We're not going to force the teams to have to manage portfolios or do full-scale trading. They just have to detect with regularity high-quality alpha signals in crypto. And so to do that, I'm actually starting to build the agent so I can show people how to do it. Now, part of the rules of this competition are that when an agent in the competition detects a tradable opportunity, it needs to store a payload of data on Recall. And you could do that with one of our SDKs, but actually in the coming days, we'll also be releasing our Recall MCP server. So this is super exciting. This means that you can embed all the capabilities of Recall, creating buckets, pushing objects to buckets, reading buckets, deleting objects, to your agent. Even more than that, this is a token-based network. So your agent can detect what tokens you have, create credits for moving data on the network, all for you. And you don't have to learn new APIs or anything like that. So I want to show you actually how that works. Before I get into that, I wanted to show you why you might want to do that in your agent. So this is a good example. This is just in the Mastra agent framework. This is their example MCP agent. So you can see that this agent doesn't really have much inside of it. It has, access to a model. It has the framework definition of the agent, and it has this MCP configuration. So you can see this MCP configuration is allowing them to pass in an external server, which is some kind of stock price server, and hand that off to, and a weather MCP server, and hand both of those off to ChatGPT. And then they could ask ChatGPT a question what's the weather in Seattle, and what's the current stock price of Apple. Now, without either of these tools, it would just have to use its, its trained knowledge to answer that. Or, if it had browsing skills, it could go try to figure that out. But here, since it has the tools, it knows exactly, just go get that answer from these two tools, and the model executes it, wraps it into its answer, and comes back to the user. So in our case, what I was doing in the last video is basically that. I was creating a bunch of different data feeds that we could give the model and have it query them and mix and match them and get some sense of what's going on in the ecosystem of crypto. Now let's look at how we can take that data and then tell the model to store the outputs. I'm not going to build a full-blown agent yet on this video. I'm moving towards that for you all. I've got an example agent here that I can share in the YouTube video below that uses that Mastra framework to do a much more comprehensive alpha detection agent. It's just a WIP, but if you're curious already before I get to the video, you can take a look there. But right now I just want to show you, how do we get those two MCP servers into Claude? And this will be our stand-in for an agent right now, and I'll just prompt it to do some cool things. And we can see how they work. So first thing you do in Claude, we did a bit of this last time around, is you pull up the settings and you have to edit the config. So when you click edit config, it will just bring up a Finder window highlighting a file. If you open that file in a code editor, you'll see it looks like this. Now, if we want to add the Omni feeds server, we actually can just copy paste this into here. We'd have to obviously fill out all of that. And then we are going to have to go to the Recall MCP server, and likewise. So we actually just need to delete this little duplicated, one too many, duplicated bit. All right, we're 80% of the way there to having those two services running in our system. So I have already cloned the Recall MCP server. It gives you instructions on how to do that in our docs, which are still out in a pull request, but we'll be publishing in the next few days. So you clone that, we're gonna npm install all the dependencies, and then you do a build. So this will get a built version of the server locally. We're working on having a remote version for you to use too, but for now, this is the way to go. And now what you do is you find the absolute path to this file, and mine happens to be here. And so this is what I would put. This is what I would put here. Okay, and then I would just fill in my wallet private key, and these two are fine. You can leave them. I don't need to debug though. All right. So provided that you have that, I'll also note that you'll need the path to the Omni feeds one. Like I said, Omni feeds is not published yet. Leave me a comment if you'd be interested in trying that out, and I can publish it on GitHub for people. All right, let me fill out the private keys here. So once you've done all that, you just go back over to Claude, you restart it, and now you can see it's worked because we see this little hammer with 46 tools that it's found. And these are a mix of the Recall MCP server and the Omni feed server. So we can do everything from creating buckets to getting CoinGecko prices. All right, let's take a look at this in action. All right, every time it runs a new endpoint in the MCP service, Claude will just want your permission. All right, so now now we've got some data. Let's call this interesting, and now we want to store it off on Recall. All right, so first of all, I just asked it to create a markdown document with those two prices. It's now gonna store this markdown document in a bucket with the bucket alias of Claude. That was nice. It even checked to see if Claude existed, I think. Yeah, you can kind of read the steps it's going through here. Oh, what did it give for an error? That's interesting. I think, oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, perfect. It was getting confused on what the ID of the bucket should be, I think, but it realized that it needed to be a network address. Pretty great. Debugged itself. It's got the markdown in one of my buckets on the network now. Amazing. Now we can ask it for other things. So what's my credit balance on Recall? So if you haven't used Recall yet, you have tokens, and you can convert those tokens into credits, which give you quotas of different network capabilities. So how many gigabyte months, for example, I have a huge number of credits. Okay, interesting. This is good feedback for our tool. We need to tell it how to convert these very large numbers into actual credits, but pretty cool, right? So now going back here, I'll show you in my example agent where I've been using this. So I use Recall in two places in this agent. On one hand, I say, track all the mentions of token mentions on Twitter for a target list that it's tracking. And so that means that down below, when we, let's see where it is. Oh, yeah, exactly. So right, all the way to the beginning, sorry. So at the beginning, when we set up our agent and we create our model, I'm also giving it these same two servers. So that means our model knows how to interact with buckets, and which I'm using Claude, I think, in this example currently. And so whenever it detects mentions of tokens, it will get the current market conditions of those tokens from CoinGecko, and then store those off as a payload in the bucket for using later. Yeah, so that's all handled in the model. There's actually no other integrations needed here. The model just does it all. The second thing I'm doing outside of the model is that every time the model goes through one of its loops, it actually creates this chain of thought log. And every time it does that, I also store that full chain of thought log in the bucket, and that will make it so that I can go back later, read those chain of thought logs, and analyze what's happening and improve my agent. So that's pretty cool. Two things already, and two things that are required by the required in the competition. Excited to show off the Recall MCP server. Hope that you all can try it out and use it. Really exciting for MCP. This is something that one of my teammates showed me today. There's a pull request out right now trying to help MCP improve even further, making it stateless, resumable, and implement in plain HTTP. The implication of this PR is that it's going to make it much, much easier for model to model or agent to agent communication directly over MCP. It's pretty cool. Another cool thing that happened today on Chain of Thought, if you follow it. If you don't follow it, follow it. if you follow it. It's a really great blog that covers most of everything cool and interesting happening in the crypto AI space. Very good write-ups every newsletter. But really excited for us. Recall got a shout out there in the new AI agent news section. And I think that's it for now. If you're interested in any of this, let me know. If you're interested in this Omni Feeds MCP server, just leave a comment. I'd be happy to open it up. Thank you very much.